welcome back. It's another episode of the Forgotten Outdoors podcast. We just wanted to let you all know that we love getting your feedback. We love hearing from our listeners. So you can email us, podcast@forgottenoutdoors.com. You can also find us on all of your social media platforms. Well, not all of them. We're not on TikTok. But we are.
And never will be on TikTok.
But we are on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So go look us up. Also look us up on YouTube. Give our channel a subscribe and a like. We're trying to drop some new videos on there that aren't just our video podcast. So give it a listen, give us a subscribe, and be sure to listen in whenever we bring you new videos.
Yeah. We're excited for the episode today, guys. We're kind of doing a debriefing on our archery elk season, I think is what we were going to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Is that the plan?
Yep.
So, yeah, we're going to debrief. We're going to have an live autopsy of what we did wrong with our elk season.
And a little bit
right.
about what we did right.
And right. We had some successes. Neither of us bagged out on archery elk this year. And we're going to dig into that today and kind of see, like, what would we have done different? Because hindsight is 20/20.
Always.
You always, you have an experience, you mess up, you do something stupid, and you're like, yeah, we should have done something different. So what's one of the big takeaways, I guess, Tom? This is like one of your first archery elk seasons.
Yes.
That you've participated with being a shooter. What's one of your biggest takeaways, I guess, like overarching, or what's your thoughts?
So yeah, like Ben said, this was my first season actually going out with a bow. And honestly, it was pretty tough. So it was a tough season because not only was it my first season, but we were exploring some territory that we'd never explored before. So I would say that's one major takeaway, is just kind of know your area. And we knew that going into this season that we hadn't hunted it. But we figured there's no better time to learn it than now. So we're kind of trying to figure out some of the units that we want to hunt here in Idaho. And so we did spend some time doing that. So I guess the takeaway would be just to spend more time preseason, scouting the area, finding the elk, finding the people, or not the people, finding the animals that you want to find. And then
the people.
That was the problem. We kept finding the people. That was the problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, just spending more time finding the animals preseason, that I think was huge. And then beyond that, I mean, it was just kind of situational. Some of the things that we learned like in the moment, but that would be one thing for sure.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that as of my archery elk hunting experiences, this year has probably been the least eventful, even from my first year. And I think that's what it kind of boils down to a lot of, is there was not much scouting done, especially in the area that we ended up hunting. And we can make excuses, and we will. It was just an uncommon year with launching this company, with starting new jobs, with moving, having babies. I mean, it was just, there was other priorities that kind of took place there, where we didn't spend a lot of time in the area that we were hunting elk.
Yeah.
We did some scouting in a different zone that we had kind of planned on hunting, and then we reverted back to the unit that I shot my bull in last year that I was more familiar with, thinking we had better odds.
Yeah.
Turned out to be a huge mistake.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is so like the spot that we'd been scouting preseason, like not even exaggerating, we had bears in there daily for
every day.
For like a couple weeks. It seemed like at least a week.
Daylight hours too. I mean, if you've hunted bears before, most of the bears, most of the year, especially the big ones, they're like nocturnal. In the middle of the night, they're coming in. No, this was every day. We had a bear at daylight hours.
Yeah,
it seemed like.
And honestly, once we launch this episode, I think maybe we'll post some of those on our Instagram account on the story.
Some of the pictures.
Yeah, just to give,
and the videos too.
Yeah, just to give people an idea of what we were seeing, because that's what ended up deterring us. Is it was the season hadn't started yet. We got down to, we only had like a couple days before the season started. We had only seen bears, and so we elected to go in the zone that Ben hunted last year. Mm-hmm. And then
which isn't a bad zone.
No.
And like I said, I shot a decent bull there last year, but all the previous years I was up there a lot. I was scouting all the time.
Yep.
And so I had a good idea of where the elk were, where they were moving, what they were doing before the season started.
But with this season, it was like, honestly, the day that the season opened, it seemed like all of a sudden it flipped. The bears weren't coming in as often. Now we had a bunch of cows, a bunch of bulls coming in. It was the weirdest thing. But there's no way you could have predicted that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, lessons learned. Next year I know what tag I'm going to get.
Yep.
And hopefully it'll be the same. Hopefully it wasn't a freak year, and it wasn't like we did have elk starting to come in like once September kind of started.
Yeah.
But we didn't have consistent elk until probably a week and a half into September. And then I would say it was like a week and a half period there where there was like a shooter bull in hunting hours every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Sometimes there was a couple, like 2 or 3 days where there were 3 bulls I would have shot in hunting hours. It was driving me insane.
Yep.
And we had those cameras that would send pictures to your phone. And so Thomas and I would be out looking for elk, being like, where the heck are these things? Getting pictures of bulls wallowing in a unit that we couldn't hunt, in a place we couldn't hunt. So that was very, very frustrating.
Yeah.
And lessons learned.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is there's no way we could have predicted it.
New area. Yeah.
And honestly, though, like for me, like the biggest thing this season that I was grateful for is just learning this unit. So
Yeah.
the unit that we did end up hunting, I mean, we found a lot of really cool access points.
Put some miles on.
We scouted a lot of good area.
And we did get into elk.
Yeah.
We did.
Yep. None that we could get a shot at, whether
no.
they were too far or...
Well, and I guess that's another point that we could bring up of while we're doing this debriefing, this autopsy, is one of the days that we got into the most elk, I think we screwed the pooch on.
Yeah.
It was a new area that we were going into, unfamiliar with it, and we hiked in, and we all kind of agreed on it. And it seemed like a good idea at the time that we were going to hike up in the dark and get up onto this ridge and have a good vantage point once we were getting into hunting light. Well, while we were hiking in, we busted a bunch of elk.
Yeah, at least we assume, because that's all we could hear.
Yeah, and you could, we saw a bunch of sign once the sun came up,
Yep.
and you smell them. But yeah, we assumed. We didn't see them because it was black outside, but busted some elk. We sat this one clearing like we had planned, called a little bit, didn't get any responses, did see a cow.
Yeah.
And then we got impatient and we jumped up to move to another spot. And 15 yards behind us, some elk had been creeping up behind us. Hadn't made any sound, but we blew him out too. It was a...
Yeah, I think that
frustrating.
morning was probably the most frustrating because, like Ben said, it was like almost instant. When we busted that last bull that was just 15 yards behind us, when we busted him, it was like instant. We looked at each other and we were like, we should have sat that for another 2 hours. Like it was, that was like the biggest mistake because it was like we had seen a cow that came in like 5 minutes before shooting light. Didn't give us a really great shot, but we had seen one. And then, and then just getting up, walking away like 15 minutes after we'd seen that.
Yeah.
That was just a mistake.
It was.
And so that was one of the things that we walked away from. We were like, what were we thinking? But it was like a live and learn moment.
Right. And I think it's so easy to do. Like, I think it's easier to be patient when you are whitetail hunting in a tree stand. When you know
you're supposed to be sitting.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah.
You sit down and you shut up and you wait for something to come in. That's the game plan. When you're up elk hunting, archery elk hunting, you get impatient, especially when you're not seeing elk and you want to make something happen. You're like, well, okay, the elk aren't here. I need to go and hike somewhere else to go find them. Where that is a good point. If you're not seeing elk, you need to do something different. But at the same time, not having that patience, especially that one day for us, it screwed it up for us.
Yeah,
I think that we would have at least, had a close shot at a bull or an elk if we would have been more patient that day. Maybe not have hiked in the dark because we bounced that one bull. And I'm not saying that that's in every situation. I think a lot of situations you hike in the dark, you get to a good spot for hunting hours. Right. But in this particular area, the way that it was set up and the visibility, I think that and especially the day it was like drizzling, I think that we should have waited till hunting hours to start hiking in.
Yep.
And then definitely that clearing, we just got impatient. We wanted to make something happen. It didn't seem like it was happening in our eyes, and we got rushed and kind of screwed it up.
Yep.
And then I guess another thing that we kind of got sucked into too was we were trying to get to the other side of this canyon where this bowl went, and we just got in the nastiest, thickest brush and kept on trying to go, and it was bad. It just got nasty, and so we like made so much noise.
That day, honestly, it was like 10 o'clock in the morning. We've already tried to hike to that other canyon, and we've made so much noise that we were like, yeah, well, I think we've killed this whole area for the rest of the season. Like,
And
it was
we
like,
moved on. We were like,
Yeah.
we've blown every elk out within 2 miles.
and so we were like, let's just go. Like, let's move. So we end up hiking back out, getting in the truck, driving to a new spot. And it's just kind of how it is. But it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, if I'm hunting that same spot in the future, like, I know what I'll do. Like,
Yeah.
and that's what's so cool about, for us hunting. Like, yeah, we've hunted since we were kids. Yeah, we've done it quite a few times, but with every animal and with every area, it's just different.
It's different.
And so
you
it's
still
just
make
learning.
mistakes.
Yeah, it's just learning.
Yeah, and those were the mistakes that we had made where we haven't made those same mistakes on other hunts, but we got caught up in the excitement of it all or whatever it was with that day, and we made some mistakes and we learned from it.
Yeah.
And I think like your original point, Thomas, of like doing your homework and going out and scouting, like that day that we went to that area, we'd never been there before.
Nope.
And so we didn't understand that, like, I don't know, maybe we should wait till hunting light to hike in. We didn't do the homework on that, so that we didn't know.
Yeah.
And it might have screwed us the opportunity to, shoot a bull, put an elk down.
Yeah. So that was just one day. Outside of that, like there was other lessons learned. Something that was just kind of different this year, at least for Idaho, is it was just hot.
It was hot.
And we had a hard time getting any of these elk to communicate, to bugle, to do anything.
Like
So
across the board, I think, not saying that the elk didn't talk,
right.
but I think that most people in the area that we were hunting anyways were kind of running into similar problems.
And there was a day I went up and Ben wasn't there, but I went up and we ran into so many other hunters. It was the weirdest thing. Like we get to this really good clearing. We're sitting in the spot, and it was the craziest thing. So we're sitting there, and all of a sudden we hear some movement in the bushes, like pretty close to us. So we're kind of getting all set, get ready. And then these two hunters just walk out into the middle of our clearing, and I was like, "What are they doing?" Like they blew it all up, and it just kind of is what it is. But it's just tough because there's other people that are hunting, so you got to kind of be, I guess, knowledgeable of the places that other people know about and try to avoid them if you can. But yeah, that was a crazy day. We seriously saw 8 or 9 different hunters throughout the day, and so you just kind of got to learn where to go and where not to go in those situations.
Yeah. And I think that we stumbled onto some awesome country, though, this year in this
So,
area. I mean, I don't think that you can only go and hunt the areas that you've scouted out previously during the season. I don't think that's accurate at all.
No.
I think that you definitely want to do your homework, that you want to understand the areas, try to understand where the elk are going to be. But if you're not getting into elk sign, keep walking, keep hiking, keep moving. Look at your maps, figure out different spots, because I guess that's a pro from this year is we did that a lot.
Yeah.
We traveled a lot of new areas, and we found some awesome spots where elk have been, and there was good elk sign. Not that we made it happen there, because honestly we didn't get out nearly as much as we probably should have, like we didn't. We were talking about it before this. We were running to town talking about what we were going to kind of discuss tonight, and Thomas brought up the point where it's like next year I want to hike in somewhere and camp out for a couple days. Whereas this year, with all the craziness, it was like we'd go out a morning, go out for a couple hours, maybe hit an afternoon here and there. And it just was so inconsistent that I think that we missed some opportunities there as well. Whereas if we would have spent more time, we might have had more opportunities for sure.
Yeah, and I think that, my thought process behind that is just you can get into some deeper country, you can get to where nobody else has been, and then you have a couple of days to let it all settle and let the elk come moving back in. If you make a bunch of noise one day, but you get to your spot and then you're sitting there for 2 or 3 days, you can make that gamble a little bit better instead of well, we hiked in, made a bunch of noise, so we're done for the day, because that's the only time that we dedicated was, one morning or one day.
Right, and I think that tactic where you are spending multiple days or some extended amount of time, it takes some of that urgency out of it.
Yeah.
Where you might make those rush decisions. I can't
Yeah.
even talk. It takes that edge of, I have to get something done because I'm leaving in a couple hours. I don't know when I'm going to get back out. It makes it hard. It makes it rush. It's like, I can't sit this clearing. There's no elk. We got to move. We got to find these things. Whereas if you have a couple days, you sit a ridge. We'll bring our bows, but we're not planning on killing anything. Let's sit a ridge, see if we can see elk, and that's where we'll start in the morning.
Yep. So I think, hindsight, I think it's worth trying next year. Obviously, we're going to try the unit that we passed up on this year. But, yeah, I think, for me, that's how I do my deer hunt every year. We go out for 3 or 4 days, and it's produced good results. We've been able to get into deer pretty much every year I go, and I think that for me is the difference. Is it's just you get there and you have time. You're not feeling rushed until obviously the last day. Last day you're rushed, but
yeah,
it's just one of those things. And for us, like we just like being out there. Like we just like being outside and being in the mountains. And so being able to do that and spend a full few days instead of being like stressed out the entire time that you're out there. I mean, that's a difference maker for me, and it makes it more enjoyable, I think, all around for the trip.
Yeah, 100%. And this year, I won't lie, I kind of slipped into the mindset of being stressed out a little bit about the hunt. There was this one morning where I came to pick Thomas up, and he had slept in, which I can't blame him. I've done it before where we were going to go fishing, and I slept in. So it's happened on both ends. But the situation was, I was going to pick him up. We were going to go out hunting. He slept in, and so I went up anyways. I was sitting this area, and he texted me. He's like, crap, dude, I just woke up. I'm running late. I'm on my way up here. And I was so stressed out about I need to get something down that I was like, nah, dude, you're going to screw it all up.
You're going to make a bunch of noise.
I'm already in this area. You go hunt somewhere else or
Basic
stay home.
go away.
Yeah,
just go away.
I was like, no, I'm good, dude. I don't want you to screw this up for me, which is stupid. And I didn't enjoy myself that day. I was stressed out for what? If you can't enjoy it, I'm not going to starve to death if I don't get an animal. I want to hunt. I want to get that meat in the freezer. It's awesome. It saves money, whatever. But to the point of me not enjoying the outdoors anymore and not enjoying time in the wilderness, it's just not worth it for me. And so I don't know what the factors were really. It might have been because we didn't spend the amount of time and we were limited and
we were running out.
We were trying to get something going, or maybe it was because I was getting all these pictures of these awesome bulls in an area that I couldn't hunt, which was frustrating. I don't know what all the factors were, but yeah, I kind of thought about it that day after I was like, yeah, Thomas, don't come up. I don't want you to screw this hunt up for me because you slept in. I just was like, I'm not enjoying myself. And I went home and I was like, yeah, and I texted Thomas like that night and I was like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to get to the point where I'm not enjoying hunting anymore, where it's stressing me out. Right. Because it should be the opposite.
Yeah. It's a stress reliever.
Yeah. It should be an escape, from the stress of everyday life. For me anyways, that's how I view it.
Yeah. And I think that's how a lot of just outdoor activities should be viewed in general. Like, I think, I laugh because, my in-laws, they're really into backpacking and just hiking. And I've never really gotten into that because I'm like, what's the point? Like, you're just walking. and then one time they brought up the point. They're like, well, that's hunting. Like, all you do is walk around with a backpack on your back. I was like, that's true, but like there's a purpose behind it for me, I'm hoping I see something, but at the end of the day, it just comes down to, if you're not enjoying it, then it's really not worth it. And so that's kind of what we're hoping to continue to do with this podcast and with just like our business in general, is just find ways for people to get outside and enjoy it. For us, that's hunting and fishing. We talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
But for other people, that might be backpacking, that might be hiking, that might be, just a number of things. And so we're hoping to kind of expand our talking points to cover some of those things. But end of the day, like, if you're not having fun, you're not I feel like you're just not doing it right. So it's just kind of, you got to find what's enjoyable and then kind of stick to that and appreciate it when you're in the moments.
Right. And I think that it might not be fair to say if you're not enjoying yourself all the time, you're doing it wrong. Because
because you can experience frustration.
we experience frustration all the time, especially when we're fishing.
Oh,
Like, we've talked about our opening day experience with Henry's and how awesome it was.
that's not normal.
Talk about our experience the next time we went up there, Tom.
Zero fish.
Well, I caught one.
Ben caught one fish, if you can call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we were frustrated.
and it's like, what the heck changed?
Yeah.
And
it can be frustrating, too, at moments. But I think if you go out and it's like automatic stress of, I have to get something done. I have to shoot something bigger than my friend. I have to catch fish or I'm not a man. You know, like, I think that's where you are doing it wrong.
Well, and I think it can go with anything. Like, you have good days and bad days, but at the end of the day, like, is it something that gives you, joy? Like, is it something that makes you happy and appreciate the things that are around you? Because I think you can find that in a variety of things. Like, even if you're a runner, you just like running, you might wake up one day feeling sluggish, you don't want to run. But that doesn't mean that the next day you're not feeling super strong and ready to go. So it really does. Like, I guess I retract that comment of, if you're not enjoying it, then you're doing it wrong. But I think overall, if it doesn't bring you positive feelings and make you, excited for your next trip out, I think that's where, you might be missing something.
Right. Yeah.
But, obviously you experience frustrations and, disappointments. But at the end of the day, like, if you're excited to go out again, then that's what I think is a big, I guess, sign that you're doing something right.
Right. And I don't know. I just think that life is too crazy and too stressful, and it gets so on top of you that if your hobbies are that way too, then you're probably going to be miserable in life. We're kind of like drifting into some philosophical topics.
We're deep now. We're in deep now.
But I just think that it can be so much more beneficial than that fish that you catch. It can be so much more beneficial than that set of antlers that you have on the wall, or even the meat that's in the freezer. We talk about that a lot. We talk a lot about the reasons behind what we do as far as hunting and fishing, about putting meat on the table, food for your family, having these good experiences in the outdoors. But I think it goes beyond just the harvesting of meat. I think it just goes beyond hanging antlers on the wall. I think that in our DNA, it is something that we used to do every single day, and I think that it is something that when I go back into the outdoors, when I go into the woods and I'm not having these stresses, I'm not feeling the pressure that I have to get something done, or I'm not this macho man, or I'm going to have tag soup instead of getting an animal. when I can put that aside and actually enjoy it, which I would say is the majority of the time, it's refreshing. It feeds me, and it's like I'm resetting my batteries, recharging up for the week ahead, or for the monotony of everyday life.
Yep. And I think that that's what's so exciting now. Like, we didn't tag out with our archery tag, but now we have something to look forward to. We're looking forward to our late season cow hunt coming up with a rifle. We've got some other things going on.
Some whitetail.
Yeah, if you're following us on our social media, you've been seeing that we've been going out duck hunting. We're going duck hunting tomorrow. So
bright and early.
So there's always something that can get you into doing what you love, and that's what's so cool about doing this podcast, is it kind of makes us appreciate and reflect on the things that we're doing. And so, even though we didn't tag out with our archery, there's always something better to look forward to, and so hopefully we'll tag out with the rifles.
Right, and we learned a ton of lessons this year from our archery elk hunt.
Well, and for
me,
me,
buy the right tag.
buy the right tag. And for me, like, I seriously learned everything about archery this year. Like, it was so cool. Just something to expand your knowledge and get you, like we always say, just something that builds your confidence. Like, that's, for me, like, I'm now more confident in going out and hunting with a bow. Mm-hmm. And that, and that's exciting and it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So we have things to look forward to, constantly things to look forward to. Any day that we spend out in the woods is a day to look forward to, in my opinion. We're going duck hunting in the morning. We were debating on where we're going to go. We went last week for like the opening. It wasn't the opening day, but it was the opening weekend.
Yeah.
And yeah, we shot a ton of ducks, and it was so fun. And we're not going to that spot. It's a great spot, but we're excited to try somewhere else, and we might not shoot anything. We haven't been in this area, but that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
It's a new spot. Let's go and learn. Let's go enjoy it. If we don't shoot anything,
We'll
whatever.
go back to our old spot.
And we'll go freeze our butts off tomorrow because it's going to be cold and windy.
Yep.
And we might not shoot any ducks, but we might shoot way more ducks than we did the other day. Who knows?
Yeah.
So it's the fun. It's the adventure. It's getting out there and just enjoying yourself while you're doing it.
Yep. And I think that we're kind of wrapping up this episode. Yeah. We want you guys, we always say it, but we really do want your feedback. So hit us up, visit our website, www.forgottenoutdoors.com. We just had some new sweatshirts hit the shop.
Oh, and they're freaking awesome.
We're super excited about them. They're the heaviest sweatshirt you'll ever
Keep
own.
talking, Tom.
Ben's going to go get one. Yeah, they're awesome. They're great for these colder months that are ahead of us. Yeah, so we've got that hitting the shop. We've got some really exciting stuff happening right now. We're not going to give it all away, but we're getting ready to finalize a partnership with another company. These sweatshirts are freaking dope. We love them.
Heck yeah.
They're very heavy. They're very warm. So yeah, we're getting ready to partner with another company, start selling their stuff. So we're excited. We've got a lot of good things happening, and so follow along with us, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Hit us up on social media or hit us up through email. You can do podcast@forgotteноutdoors.com, or you can go onto our website, again, forgottenoutdoors.com, and you can fill out our form. We want to hear from you. Tell us what you want to hear about. Tell us what you want us to talk about on the podcast.
Yes, sir. As always, we appreciate it, guys. We love doing this. We love talking about these things and hearing your feedback. It's exciting every time.
Yeah.
We have one of you guys reach out, or maybe not every time, but the majority of the times that we have people reach out and talk to us, Thomas and I are like texting each other. Oh, did you see that comment? Oh yeah, that's awesome. People are actually like engaged with this.
Yep.
So it's fun. It's a fun ride. We love what we're doing. Yeah, go check out our stores, all that stuff that Thomas said, and we will catch you guys on the next episode.
See ya.
And with that, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.